This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Eva Fulton. In this show, we explore the incredible journeys of resilience, healing, and transformation. In each episode, we will sit down with individuals who have faced unimaginable struggles and turned their pain into power, heartbreak into hope, and their challenges into meaningful change and finding new purpose in life. Through candid conversations and inspiring stories, we will uncover how pain, whether emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, can be the catalyst for profound growth and a deeper sense of purpose. So if you are looking for motivation, insight, and real stories of triumph over adversity, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey from pain to purpose. Let's give veterans a voice through military broadcast talk. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Eva Fulton, and I'm going to breathe. We're here. We made it. Got through Christmas. It was kind of a doozy for me. Traveled from DC back here to Texas, so I'm in home. And I've had... the challenges are here, folks. The challenges are here. So sometimes, when you're not at your normal place, I'm not at home, you get to come back and go in homeowner fix-it mode. So I've had a doozy. I'm glad I didn't spend much on Christmas this year because I just bought the family about one water heater. One is going to be covered by warranty. And the labor for both, it's okay. Labor for both. So that's what our Merry Christmas is basically managing challenges. And I think it's actually very, very fitting because my guest joining us is a phenomenal person. I've been watching him on LinkedIn and seeing who all he's connected with. And I tell y'all, my people garden grows in some magnificent ways. And I think we have a neat sneak peek of some information that Brian's going to share. Originally, ironically, he was supposed to be on the show a month and a half, I think, ago, and it didn't work out. But you know what? Maybe this is God's plan working out that he's with us today. And let's see, Brian he has been the national director of Project Rebirth, military veteran peer specialist, visionary, pragmatic. Go find him on LinkedIn, connect with him on LinkedIn, because that's how I found him. And our people garden includes a bunch of people, very much in common. I have not entered very much on the official peer network side of things, but I know Texas has a great peer network. And so I've just kind of been watching it afar, but I've been doing things, from the spiritual side of things with my book, Welcome to My People Garden, that, sometimes people just they come across our paths for a reason. And so while I'm very excited on one side and having him on today, there's an admiration, I think, and also the timing that when he and I discussed having somebody, have him come on a different time. I know that people struggle through the holidays. I'm no different, just with different things going on. Y'all know that I gave my announcement on some health issues last week, and trials and challenges happen in all forms, shapes, and sizes. That, I have built this Pain to Purpose radio show on 4 pillars of pain: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And, I think that today's guest is no different. So here is our interview of the week.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
If I get you on the screen with me, there we go. Hey, Brian, welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm so excited to have you here.
I made it.
Yeah.
You made it this time.
Hey, but I think it's God's timing. God's
Absolutely.
timing for sure.
100%. Absolutely.
Well, do you have anything you want to add on the intro side of things, who you are, what you do, before we, dive into all of the particulars?
Sure. I think I had a friend that I was on her podcast. I think it was like a year or two ago. And she asked me, like, oh, if you met someone on the street, right, or someone just met you at a convention or something, like, how would you introduce yourself, like who you are and what you do? And this is true. I do this. I will typically say, especially if I know it's another veteran or like a family member of a veteran, or first responders, I say, just a dude playing another dude disguised as another dude, right? From Tropic Thunder, good old RDJ with that classic line, right? And I think that's how a lot of us feel, any type of warrior profession. So let me state this: when I use the term warrior, that's my colloquial term for veterans, first responders, and their loved ones. So our warrior community. So, anyways, there's a bit of the moment that the uniform comes off, whether you're still active duty or not, right? Like, you go back to your family unit, right? And you do have to, there's a different aspect to yourself, right? Because everyone is different. And so, this collection of what some people call masks, in the mental health realm, like as a clinician, that's, one of the things that I was taught, like this, we all wear these masks. I come from, that, like it says in my LinkedIn profile, visionary pragmatist, right? I see I see a lot of different angles, and I'm very empathetic, both with the training and then, naturally, that's the way that God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, it's how they created me. And so I get to be, we're all a lot of different things. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that our community in general has when it comes to our holistic wellness, is almost being fit into a category of like, no, you're supposed to be this thing, while alternatively being told, like, you're not your PTSD, that's just part of you, right? You're not your moral injury, it's just part of you, but you need to be authentic. Like, well, I am very authentic to whatever the given situation is, so I can show up and most importantly, when I'm providing care or even just peer support, that it's person-centered and focused, and I'm meeting that person actually where they're at, not doing what so many others do, which is give you a container, put you in it, and then say, now I'm meeting you where you're at. That's a square peg round hole problem. And I think that's the overall issue that we're facing, not just in the veteran and first responder communities, but like as a nation.
I think it's a whole world. I think it seriously is a whole world. You're right. I typically, I've used, I don't know if you've seen my book, but I have the mask as the cover. It's an actual physical mask that I made. And I, did that and put it on the cover. But I sometimes also use the metaphor of putting on hats. When I got out of the Army, I took off my Army hat and then put on wife and mom hat and PTA hat and had to navigate these other things, but I didn't know what Eva's hat looked like. And I didn't have anybody tell me that I was a veteran really either. They did, but they didn't tell me what it meant, because suddenly I was supposed to pretend that I wasn't ever in the military at all, which was confusing. Get rid of your uniforms, get rid of that as a part of your identity. And that was confusing AF, right? I didn't understand how I was supposed to not identify with my military service anymore. And I didn't have that community and camaraderie. And I had to purposely go out and search it so that I had some like-mindedness and people who understood me with that warrior ethos side of things, and not just, you know, but I did have on the weird thing. I had to find my feminine side too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think the key thing for our community is they've been doing this organized military thing for about 3,000 years. It's a long time to perfect how to take a civilian and turn them into the antithesis of a civilian, which clinically, just so audience understands, this is actually what the clinical psychological doctrine is of basic training. And that is, civilians are internally focused. That's how we're born within the American community. You start out internally focused. A lot of people would say, like, you're very God-centered. You know, you watch children just have the best fun and all the creativity, and then we kind of start warping you a little bit, where it's like, hey, you need to have this money, this education, you need to get this type of job, you need to do these things, and it's a house with a white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog and all that, right? And then so how do you take someone that's concerned about that and make them concerned, and then gain pleasure, acceptance, and approval through a team win, even if you lose individually? That's what the entire thing about basic training is. And they spend millions of dollars just getting us through basic training to brainwash that into us. They don't spend any money on is reversing that, or even giving us the actual tools and techniques to be able to operate in a world full of people that are not like that. The world you came from still exists. You knew that, but everything is based. I mean, the way we do reveille. I mean, even if you're a civilian on post, what do? You stop a car, you park your car, get out, right? Hand over the heart. We do if you go to the post movie theater. We do the national anthem before the movie starts, right? Everything is built around maintaining that thing around us.
Right.
And then it's here's your DD-214. Best of luck. Hope you make it in the VA. Right. So.
Right. And I didn't get, I got a very micro version of TAPS when I got out in 2000, because it was very micro version then, but I got out on a medical. So I didn't get the same kind of transition opportunities that everybody else has been getting now. I see you. Sorry, my dog, one of the dogs, Rosie, they hear me talking and they want to be right here. Since I'm here, they're like, Mom is over there. Sorry, folks. She's right here. Oh, she's oops, can't see. Sorry, have the background on. She's a golden doodle. But I totally agree. And that's what I had. It's not just me. I know there are lots of other people. I'm working on my PhD and doing a bunch of research on the female side, that it's the women who are my age and up that are struggling the most, because they're having some life changes between work, the support with family. They probably have been single mothers for a variety of reasons. Family members are passing away, and their health issues are starting to culminate. And how do they manage all of this stuff? And so most of these ladies are having issues, not just with maintaining employment, but they're, have the health issues that leads to termination of that employment. Homelessness is a big thing. And the resources aren't built, but we're fixing to come into the crux of the most women veterans out there. And nobody ever asked us, what do you need?
Mhm.
from the public administration side. So not just the mental health or physical health, but from the public administration side. So that's what my PhD is, the what are the unfulfilled needs of female combat veterans? And
Mhm.
I would think that for your work that you're probably coming across some of that same stuff from that
W
public administration side of things.
Absolutely. Having moved into the levels of, well, let's call it, bureaucratically, right?
Hmm.
Having to work at those levels, and being a systems guy naturally. I mean, I'm an ops, like, systems type guy primarily. We'll go into, like, my military and homeland security background and all that stuff in a little bit. But my friends that are female veterans, what concerns me the most is, number one, high prevalence of disordered eating and eating disorders, and
Yep.
the military sexual trauma side, of which I, as a male veteran, experienced in the Army.
Mm.
And I didn't even start talking about that till um, just a couple years ago. I didn't realize, like, I compartmentalized it, right? And I was
Sure.
like, and not that I need to go into the story, but basically it happened, and then we beat the shit out of that guy,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, yep, I'm good, right? And I wasn't. I never processed it. I did what I was selected to do, which is compartmentalize at a high level. And then the Army provided all the rest of the distractions so I could leave it compartmentalized.
Right.
Well, it handed me that form and was like, best of luck to you. And all of those things, came to an ugly head. And really, it wasn't. I'd done a lot of treatment centers, like programs in treatment centers, all sorts of modalities. I mean, I studied clinical work myself. Like, went into the peer side because that's what I actually enjoyed doing more than doing social work. I was studying a master's in social work,
Hmm.
um, and did my practicum and internship was doing it at the VA. And I thought I was gonna, like, become a social worker and fix the VA. Learned pretty quickly that wasn't gonna happen. Um, but overall, like, that journey, which is, I think, what we'll talk about a lot today. Um, what it's taught me the most is number one, there's a sickness in the warrior community of sick people trying to help other sick people and hurt
Yeah.
people. That is a major systematic problem that we have in our community.
Yeah.
And that is buttressed by civilians who don't understand our population, and they have, I wouldn't say pity, but they have compassion for us in a way that we shouldn't have that compassion directed towards us, right? There's that has created grants and a lot of government funding, as well as a lot of high visibility, low impact veteran and first responder organizations, that
It becomes
perpetuate.
a money magnet for them to make money as nonprofits without
Mhm,
ever actually fixing the problem. But the
mhm.
problem didn't exist from the outside. It happened when we were serving.
Correct. And
Yeah.
I think that the other side to that coin, the systematic part. So if we're looking at the macro, the micro on the other side of the coin is we had some advancements just this year. I mean, really, it was just a couple months ago, when it comes to the DSM and clinically being able to officially at least recognize moral injury within a diagnosis. It's still,
Right.
you still got to do a PTSD primary diagnosis, and then you get what's called a Z code, which is just basically an annotation into a clinical record and clinical case note saying that this person has moral injury. And that misinformation around it, people not understanding the difference, most especially clinically, and then most importantly, clinically in the VA.
Hmm.
That has given a lot of people PTSD diagnoses, as well as the incorrect modalities and how to heal the moral injury and the soul wound that, for many of us, like what we were talking about prior to the show
Yeah.
coming online, that the soul injury that happens, that processing therapy is not going to work. Like, EMDR will not help you with this thing. CPT will not help you with this thing. In fact, and this is empirical data that comes out of Boston University and the National PTSD Center for Excellence, states that it exacerbates the issue.
That doesn't
But we can.
surprise me. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. And
Mhm.
I was one of those people that got to hear the talking when those researchers from let's see, it's the Texas Christian University, TCU, the
Mhm.
researchers that came out, they were coming to the organizations here in North Texas
Mhm.
talking about the moral injury and pushing to get that approved. So that was huge
Yeah.
that happened this year.
Mhm.
You know, Daryl and I host the Monday show, The Revivalists, talking about that transition, using the Bible and reading it and talking about it and infusing some of the things that we've learned in the military to help folks transition the moral injury into moral healing and recovery.
Mhm.
Open
Yeah.
invitation for you to join on with this. So throwing that out there.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I know that I will accept that offer. Um, I do want to state that I'm not saying that PTSD doesn't exist, that complex trauma
Oh
doesn't
no, for
exist.
sure.
But here's a portion of where um, both Project Rebirth and the new thing I'm involved with, which we'll get into in a second, what we are pushing on, which is that this term trauma informed
Hmm.
uh, is incorrectly being taught in regards to our community, and the fundamental issue with that lies in this simple statement that I talk about all the time, which is that there's a difference between victims and volunteers to trauma. And the approach when you're dealing with people who are volunteers, so you may be a volunteer to trauma. It doesn't mean that we don't experience other trauma. We didn't have childhood trauma, because most of us do that enter these professions. That's
Yeah.
why we become saviors, right? Like, we are responders, right? Because we've been in fix-it modes as children for
Yep.
most of us. But the point being is, it may be the same coin, but it is two different sides of the coin, and you cannot approach doing trauma work with a veteran or a first responder, even in complex trauma, in the same manner in which you're globally teaching trauma informed recovery or trauma informed treatment, or even HR departments being trauma informed. Like, there's a reason why we're unto our own with our community, right? And that has also been a problem.
So for clarity, help me in the audience. I want to wrap my head around what the incorrect trauma form definition is versus what the right definition you think is.
Yeah, so the actual definition would still remain the
Oh,
same,
okay.
which is
Okay.
essentially that we know that, for instance, like, I work a lot within substance misuse, right?
Hmm.
Which a lot of people like use the old term addiction, right? I say substance misuse because there's very rare I've ever met anyone that's never misused a substance. Now, that may go all the way towards what you would classically call addiction, but the point is that there's a much bigger pot that people are not addressing. They're only addressing the most acute problems when it's a problem, right? So, but overall, the trauma informed approach is understanding that there are things like generational trauma, there's sociological traumas, there's the familial drama or traumas, and that we need to recognize that this is the core issue, and that just like with substance use disorder, right? It's really just a secondary condition. Think of it like a symptom to what this thing is, because I can tell you in my use, when I was abusing drugs and alcohol, it was all because that was the way that I self-medicated. And most importantly, I was
Right.
self-medicating myself because I had so much trauma and moral injury. Eventually I not got rid of it, processed all the trauma that I had. All that was left with this moral injury, and no one really understood that was the
Right.
case. It just kept going back. But
I,
that overall, in the evolution of that thing, I think it's important to understand that the let's call it the tactical approach as a clinician or as a case manager, and most importantly as a multidisciplinary team, that it is from the approach of that this is a uniquely different lens and experience, right? My joke about it is, or I try to use humor to diffuse this thing, but
sure.
we all, like, I've never met a human being that's not experienced grief, right? Shame and pain.
Right.
I have met children and then have turned into adults that have never experienced joy and love. Okay. So joy and love may be at the foundation from source that everything is arising from, call that God, call that universe, whatever you like to. But in this realm, that is actually the standard experience. And another problem within our community is we think, well, but they don't get it. Well, just because they didn't go to Afghanistan and see the atrocities and horrors that we saw doesn't mean that their pain has any less of a bite that yours has. And that there are a lot of civilians out there who are subject matter experts in the things that you need to help yourself integrate back into society, as well as become more self-actualized and self-realized and spiritual, or whatever that journey looks like for you, that you're not going to find in our community. And you have to be able to go outside of our community, because what did we fight for? I fought for all them, right? Like definitely on the line as an infantryman, like, yeah, this is my brothers next to me, because I was also in before women could be in the infantry. So there's that portion. But overall, like, that's the point. Like my family is civilians, right? Like, I need to learn to interact with them. So going back to the masks thing.
Right.
I think it's important that we all understand that the masks are what the problem is putting on the wrong mask at the wrong time. That's what the problem is, right? The disgruntled veteran and this thing and that thing, in my experience, and sometimes we're just leaving the same mask on all the time, and that's a further problem, right?
Because you don't know when you can put on the right mask, or just what mask is that? What if you don't even know what that mask looks like? I mean, I've gone to events, and I know this sounds weird, but because I spent that big chunk of my career. I mean, it was 12 years BDUs. It wasn't BDUs, it was PT clothes and maybe jeans or shorts. I didn't go out. I was a single mom. Bowling on Fridays was the extent of my social life when I was active duty. But I didn't learn, how to dress up for events. So when I got out, going to events, whether it was family holidays or whatever, felt like putting on some kind of dress up clothes, like I was a Barbie doll or something, that I had to have this outfit to, wear, but it wasn't me. It felt like I was wearing this weird mask, but Eva's now on parade to do such and such, at an event. And it just felt like I was wearing these pretend dress-up clothes, but I didn't know what my identity looked like, what clothes I picked. I've had to, I'm getting better, but I've had to lean on, like, my oldest son is gay. Thank God he's gay. And my daughter to help me. Does this outfit look okay to this event? It's a struggle to, to revert back to the civilian side of things and figure out how do I, because that was challenging in and of itself, just not understanding how do I assimilate into the civilian side. Because otherwise, growing up, Mama bought clothes from Sears Outlet, and that was where the seam, went crooked in the front of your leg, because I grew up poor. It's, it just was not comfortable. So let's go there is a question that popped in my head while you were talking a little bit ago, and the substance abuse stuff. And I think in some ways it's not just the liquor, but the prescription side of things that happened both in the military and from the VA. And I'm not trying to point fingers at them, but the answer was always throwing a pill at it, whether it was Motrin, whether it was, any of these other, hydrocodone, whatever, that we were good soldiers and took it because that's what the label said, but then that created all these other health problems as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I want to speak at least specifically right now, though I know it applies outwards, but about the post 9/11 generation. So, I mean, obviously since Vietnam, right, we've been an all volunteer army, right? So all of us at least thought we understood what we were signing up for post 9/11, right?
Yep.
For a lot of us, it was patriotism and revenge, right? Like, let's go get these guys, right?
Right.
And in the need, in the requirements to execute that mission, right? When you go up the chain to presidential and cabinet level positions, right? So we're talking Pentagon and VA and so on and so forth. The point was you only had a very limited pool of people to pull from, right?
Right.
And especially in the special operations community, which SOCOM, USASOC, so on and so forth, took the brunt of the global war on terror. I mean, the operational tempo. I know some Ranger buddies who they had 13, 14 deployments,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
in their career. Most of them never got to do that many, only because they got hurt. They got med boarded out, right? Things like that, or they were simply they realized like this is not, I can't sustain this, right? Regardless, overall, we all have that innate drive to just follow an order. I
Yeah.
know that this person knows what they're talking about. I don't. It's easier to just follow the orders, right? So we do that within the VA system, and I am one of those veterans who literally had the bag full of pills every time I actually went into a VA. And that was everything from something to wake me up, then something to keep me stable, then something to let me have a nap, then to something to wake up again, then something that was stabilizing my mood, and then something to put me back to sleep again. And that's not even the pain meds or the standard ibuprofen 800s, which I was eating like candy every single day as it was anyway,
Yep.
for my knees and my back and
Yep.
all that type of stuff. So it was natural for me. When I found crack cocaine, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for, because I can turn off my brain for a couple minutes and not think about killing myself, because I really don't want to kill myself, but I'm really tired of living every day. I'm
Right.
pissed off when I wake up that I'm up doing this thing again, and I really hope I don't have to when I go to sleep. That's what I'm
To
going Yeah.
wash, rinse, repeat, and
Mhm.
you're ready to get off of the roller coaster.
Yeah.
When is it?
Well,
When do you get off?
right. And then the next question to that, which is, this is all my lived experience, as well as I know a lot of people who hear this show will have this lived experience too, which is that, so when it was enough and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I went to the VA and was like, I need help now. I couldn't get what it was I was asking for, which they had available, but they would just slow roll you and try and get you to do other things before they, let you get into a treatment program or a PTSD program. And even though we had community care, they wouldn't authorize it because they wanted to keep my ass inside their system so they can get their bonuses at the end of the year. The VA is the only cabinet level agency that has performance bonuses for its employees. Now, pragmatism, right? I understand why that's the case, because you need good doctors and other types of clinicians, subject matter experts that stay in our system and understand our population. You need to give them incentive as opposed to going to concierge medicine and making 3-5 times, that much, over there, right? We got to keep them in line. So, or in the system, I should say. So anyways, I went through all of those different types of medications. I tried so many different modalities. I've been to 7 different private treatment centers. I've been to 11 different VA programs. That's everything from substance use disorder to co-occurring programs to, direct substance, just substance abuse, and then PTSD processing type programs, all like, the inpatient type programs.
Right.
I have tried just about every modality there is. A lot of them did work for many things, but again, it's only been the last 3 years that the VA is like, we're doing whole health now. And in fact, when I got on with I don't do therapy with the VA anymore. I have a private clinician that I work with, but when I met with my behavioral health team, that director of that team, a supervisor of that team, she told me, "Oh, we're a recovery-oriented system of care at the VA." So let me define what that means.
Okay.
And before I go to that, I just want to say this is my expertise in that. So I've spent the better part of a decade literally helping, either being part of or helping to build or regenerate recovery-oriented systems of care, specifically in Florida, and even more specifically within South Florida, which is the treatment recovery capital, or treatment capital of the world. But the point of what recovery-oriented care, which is it's really the only thing proving to have any long-lasting effect is that treatment happens in facilities, but recovery happens in communities. And if you go to
Yeah.
any type of treatment program, the moment that you graduate, they hand you a certificate or they coin you out or something like that. If it's substance use, right, you probably learn about 12-step programs and stuff, of which I'm a member of a 12-step program. That's a foundational part of my recovery. Um, so they hand you a meeting list, like go find an AA or an NA meeting. Best of luck to you. You get some exit appointments. Maybe you follow up with the VA, right? Let me give you more drugs. Make sure you're taking the new drugs we gave you. That type of stuff. That is a treatment-oriented system of care. We've been doing that since approximately 1930, and it has only gotten worse. So we dumped a lot of money into that. There's been a lot of research on it. It moved things along, but it did not achieve the outcome that we all thought it would achieve.
I'm smiling because that's about the same time that they had the traveling medicine man, that they legalized all of those pharmaceuticals instead of the I want to say the old wives using essential oils and herbs and stuff like that. That has done more to help me on the essential oil side. I don't do the med stuff anymore. I refuse. I don't want to take meds at all.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I don't like the fogginess that it gives me. I do want to say this. For most veterans that I meet, I would say natural, homeopathic, and entheogenic medicines are probably the best route for the symptoms that they're experiencing, and then how to, most importantly, resolve the symptom, as opposed to the current system that we're all involved with in Western medicine, which is essentially palliative care. All we're doing is treating your symptom and never getting to the root of it, right? Like why if I broke my leg, I don't need a numbing spray. I need you to set this bone and put a cast on it, right? Like,
fix the core problem.
Exactly.
Not, putting a cast on it, it'll stabilize it. But if you didn't set it right to begin with, then all you're doing is casting a still broken bone.
Exactly. And so on my personal side with my recovery journey, again, I've spent years in doing the clean and sober thing, and doing 12-step work and sponsoring people. And this is on my personal recovery side of stuff.
Yeah.
And going to a lot of meetings, and I've spoken at conventions and so on and so forth. And what I found is inside the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it does say specifically, like, if you have a financial problem, don't talk to us about it. Go find an accountant. If you have a legal problem, go talk to a lawyer. Well, when I have a very deep moral injury and soul wounds, I need to go to other types of practitioners. For me, like, I'm not a practicing Christian. I'd say I'm very along those values. Like, I believe that he definitely walked this earth, but I couldn't connect into it enough. Because there was still it's like the moral injury, the ego had created this wall where I couldn't break through and be still enough to just hear the message that was being told to me, right? And it was psychedelics that opened that door for me. It basically killed off my ego for enough time for me to look at my life through other people's eyes, and then go back in and reprocess all of that again. See what my part in everything was. Even though I'd done that dozens of times through 4th and 5th step work inside a 12-step program, very, very detailed. But being able to actualize it and embody that thing, and then have that portion of the plaque on my soul just kind of scrubbed away, so that I could be more of a light, not just like for my family, but for anyone else that I'm coming in contact with, and let them know, like, recovery is possible. And the only thing you need to do today is survive today, because tomorrow you got a chance. But if you try to take your life, first off, you won't have the chance to, if you do die. And secondary to that, you now add in another layer. And we at Project Rebirth, what I've been doing the past 5 years has been doing direct intervention work, right? Treatment placements, and speaking truth to authority, because we don't take any government grants. We don't have letters of support with the VA or on the first responder side, EAP programs. And because we have the nation's largest network of certified peer specialists for veterans and first responders, that means that you actually get confidentiality when you talk to us. My message to any warrior or warrior's loved one that's listening to the show is, if you read on a website that everything you tell us is confidential, if you don't see someone with either a peer specialist certification past, like after their name, or there's some type of clinical director, that's a lie. Now, it's great in spirit that you want to do that, but this is also a problem within our community. Another problem in the community that relates to is the term peer support. There's a lot of people out there saying like, oh, we do peer support. Like, actually, no, you support your peers. Peer support is an evidence-based practice. And to be able to practice within peer support, specifically like Florida, a lot of states, if you say you do peer support, this includes veteran organizations. I've hammered a whole bunch of them for this. It says if you state that you do peer support, you have 1 year from that date to get certified, or you are in violation of Florida state statute.
Wow.
Right?
So that's a public administration problem, right? I mean, that's what I do in my professional side of things. Mm-hmm. That's a public administration side.
Well, that when you say public administration, what would that be defined?
Oh, so public administration gets in, it's where I'm working on my PhD, that I said mm-hmm. public administration gets into policies and compliance to ensure that where are, I want to say, the review or the inspections, that mm-hmm. they're actually getting that peer support certification within 1 year of making that announcement. If there mm-hmm. are not reviews of those organizations and those people who are saying that, then they are in violation. Well, what are the consequences then? Because if they keep saying it, then there's nothing holding them accountable that they're wrong, that they're not Correct. In compliance.
That's correct. Yeah. So that's a major reason why we started Project Rebirth, is to be a watchdog against organizations that say that they're doing this thing. So that could be civilian led or not. Right.
Yeah.
So there's that thing, but then also most importantly for those organizations that truly want to do this work and want to do it right. And we will help pay to get the training for that, right? Like we've done dozens of peer specialist scholarships across the nation, let alone in Florida, to get veterans certified, right? The VA is trying to work with us right now on, we're creating an online self-paced platform that hopefully, with the way the strategy is the way we're rolling it out would be accepted in all 50 states. It may phase in by like regions, but so that veterans can access this training on how to do this thing. But that's another side of it, is that there are so many veteran organizations, specifically on the veteran side,
right, that
are tout the terminology peer support, and it is not that thing. And all we want to do is educate them. Here's how you can do this job, because this is where I might get a little spicy for everyone here. Just because you have a DD-214 does not uniquely qualify you to do this job or do peer support.
I agree.
Once in the military, came in, and when you didn't know how to do a job, didn't have an NCO and an officer above you that had experience in doing the thing and had been to trainings and then helped you to get to their level, right? That's always how the team works. But the moment you got your DD-214, especially the Global War on Terror generation, it's like, I'm going to create a nonprofit, a coffee company, and a t-shirt company, right? It's like, and they're all going to fund the nonprofit, right? And like, it's like, holy shit. This has gotten out of control because social media and podcasts and social, everything is an asset or a liability depending on how you use it, right? And this is a liability to our community because you can make your Instagram look fire. It looks, and I mean, that's all Instagram is, whether you're doing it personally or professionally, right? Like it is just organizing and orchestrating a picture of something that's not actually true. So you're getting a lot of donor empathy on that side, while social justice issues are taking over veteran issues in the philanthropic sectors. So we're getting less money into our sector, and we have muddied the waters. The soup has been watered down with all of these programs, which are really all doing the exact same thing, and sometimes in each other's backyards. And no one has enough hubris to just be like, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe I need to stand down and I need to merge in with this other organization.
Yeah.
So we can do a team fight, while every single one of those individual organizations, like, this is a team fight. We all work together. Like,
But I
don't
think
see that
everybody,
ever.
I totally agree. I think there are so many people who want to be the chief of something that, you know, because it's all about gathering real estate. They're trying to gather their own real estate and say they lead something because I think it's fed by the ego, not how do we
Absolutely.
do it smarter and do it as a team and be more effective.
Yeah, so I think you're 100% right about the ego side of stuff. Like, if I had to name one thing that makes me a really good leader, it is this and this only. I know when to follow. And if you don't know when to follow, you can't be a leader, right? And because you could get taught everything else. But if you don't know internally, intimately, like, this person knows more, I need to let them take the lead, even if I'm standing behind them for a little bit, then you're doomed to failure. And there's a lot of the wounds that we have coming out of military, most importantly, like, most specifically the military, and the loss of team, and then therefore the identity.
Yeah.
I totally empathize with being like, I went through this thing and I want to make this thing happen, right? So I want to clarify something real quick. When I was asked to create Project Rebirth, I've been working through the pandemic. I was working with FEMA as an emergency manager for years, right? And doing that as like contract work, but like, from Hurricane Harvey through the pandemic, I was essentially continuously deployed. When I came out of that and came back to Miami, I went to one of my 12-step meetings and heard someone talking about an organization that I had actually, because I was a reservist, I was working for an organization, a recovery community organization called Fellowship Foundation, which runs one of our Project Rebirth programs. They're in Fort Lauderdale area in Florida. I heard that she was saying that she worked for this organization in Miami, which is where I'm born and raised. And that there was an RCO, a recovery community organization in Miami. And so I went to talk to her after. I said, hey, listen, I worked for the first one in Florida. Like, I was their director of veteran services. Like, can I help you guys in any way? I've got all this information. You know, if I can consult for you guys anyway, free of charge. Like, I'm just down here for a little bit, like, visiting my family after the pandemic. Like, this is coming right out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen my mother and my sister for years. So that was the intention. I go in there, I do a presentation, I show them all this stuff, handed them a thumb drive with everything on it, literally. I was like, best of luck to you. If you need anything, give me a call. And they're like, hold on, you want to make a program for us? And I said, no, that's not at all what I'm here to do. But I appreciate like the honor of that, the respect of that. But I went back and talked to my parents, my mentors, my sponsor, you know, my friends, right? And all of them were like, dude, you have, I used to work for Team Rubicon. I was a regional manager in the first like 5 years for them. So I was in charge of the entire Southeast, Region 4 for any gray shirts out there. I was a director of program operations. And so like I'd been embedded in this community, right? And so I'm taking all of that experience. Then I take it into professional emergency management and the RCOs and all this stuff. And they're like, your resume is built for this thing.
Yeah.
Why would you say no? And I was like, because I want to go back home to Orlando, and like, I'm burnt out. I was burnt out from all of that work. Floods, fires, hurricanes. On our blue sky days, I did active shooters and mass casualty incidents. You know how many school shootings I went to? Like, I was done. And the pandemic, you know, was the crowning jewel in that thing, right? So they all told me, you're going to regret not doing it rather than doing it. And that resonated with me. I felt I still do a lot of prayer and meditation, which, just so everyone understands my interpretation of that. So prayer is talking and meditation is listening, right? So I did a lot of that as well. And it just felt very aligned for me to say yes. And I came in there with this plan. I'm going to do like I do in emergency management, which is I show up on scene, right? I build something up to about 70% effectiveness while also looking for the next person to take over, because
Right.
someone else has to take over, and you hand it off, right? Change a
No,
command and
succession
they'll build on
planning.
that.
You got to, yeah, you got to
Yeah.
build the success of the program, because you can't be the program. It's got
No.
to be able to function on its own.
Right. Well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Instead, the executive director of that organization had to exit the organization very quickly. I was the only person qualified, as well as licensed and certified, and clinically and peer support and all that type of stuff, right? That could lead the organization. I told them, all right, I'll do it for 6 months, which is basically what happened. But in that time, Project Rebirth went from just being a program inside one recovery community organization to 26, right? Across the US in 8 different states, which gives us well over 1,000 peer specialists that all know directly how to work with veterans and first responders. And no one's getting money from the VA, and no one's getting money from BS ketamine clinics and all that type of stuff. It is just pure, you tell us what you need and we'll figure it out for you, with you.
Okay.
Right? Like, not this is 90 days of a program and you need to do these things or you're out of the program, because the funding that all of these programs do get is unrestricted, unlimited funding. So you can treat someone for years if you wanted to.
So it's not,
right?
it's not coded with restrictions on everything.
No.
Does somebody go to the program if they are not actively drinking or misusing drugs?
Oh,
They
yeah.
can reach out and help facilitate, navigate
Mhm.
what's going to fit them as a whole person versus this book in lane that this is the protocol and you got to follow just this protocol and not
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
tailor it to the individual, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Right. And so that terminology, like within the industry, is called person-centered care.
Yep.
Which supposedly that's what you get at the VA, but we all know that's not the case, right?
Yeah,
Because you're going to get the care that they think that you need. Your voice really means nothing in it. And if you raise your voice at all, you might get a flag on your profile for intermittent explosive disorder, and then everyone's looking at you weird, right?
Yep.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So in building all of this, right, and working with all these other amazing partner organizations and consulting for the government, being up on the Hill and being up there and saying it how it is to lawmakers, that the dream of mine, or I guess I should say vision, really, was that we need to create a treatment center that will actually treat the things that we're all suffering from, and do it in a way where you are part of your multidisciplinary team. It doesn't mean you don't have a clinician or you're supplanting the role of a peer specialist. No, all of those people are going to surround you. And most importantly, it'll be a buffet of options of where normally, like if you went to a treatment center or a VA program or something like that, you'd do 1 or 2 modalities, essentially, right?
Yeah.
You'd do like 1 or 2 things. Well, a lot of us have been through those things where we've been on retreats and we've tried CBT and DBT and EMDR and CPT and ACT and all these things, right? Well, what about stuff like looking at my nutrition, looking at my T levels as both man or woman?
Yep.
Right? Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Right? So let me see what my endocrine function looks like.
Yep.
Right? How that is affecting me. Let me bring in my family in an appropriate manner so that they have an understanding and education around what's happening for me and with them, and then how we can then heal together.
Yeah.
Right? How about things like float tanks or ketamine assisted treatment that has backup clinical work, so psychotherapy attached to it, psychedelic medicines, but giving you options to say you can pick what looks good to you, and then whatever that flavor profile is, I'm going to help serve it to you.
Or maybe it's like, here's the first tier, and then, all right, if that didn't work, then here's the next tier. And that way it's not overwhelming. It's like going to the grocery store and thinking, I'm okay with looking at, 50 brands of cereal, not 2,000 brands of cereal. Yeah. Too many options on the table become too confusing.
Well, it becomes that way, just to use your analogy, when you go alone to the store.
Yeah.
Because that's why it feels overwhelming. But if you have someone standing next to you, right?
Right.
And you're like, I want cereal. Like, well, do you want something sweet? Do you want bran?
Right.
You want Rice Krispies? No, I want something sweet. Okay. Do you like marshmallows in it? Now we're down to Boo Berry and Lucky Charms, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, so you need a battle buddy
Yeah.
who knows how to do that, do it in a trauma-informed manner with respect that you can build rapport with.
Yep.
That is what the role of a peer specialist is. A peer specialist at the end of the day is a case manager with lived experience who also got trained on how to coach, right? So when I'm working with people, that's what I'm looking for. You have assets and liabilities.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes the liability can turn into an asset and the asset turns into a liability. The most common thing I see with the veterans and first responders that I've worked with just one-on-one, let alone through our programs, is yes, I know I'm drinking all the time, but like, I just can't stop drinking, right? Like, oh, you can't do the one day at a time thing? No, it's impossible. Like, cool. Put them in a new state and ask them, so tell me about your last deployment. How'd you get through that? One day at a time.
Right.
How'd you get through that day? One mission and one task at a time. So you're uniquely qualified, trained, and experienced and doing one day at a time. But until your battle buddy can show you that side of stuff, which you don't get through therapy, that's not really what therapy does, right? It's more internal exploration than the coaching side of stuff. And if you don't have that, then you're doomed to just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different
Right. You
result.
got to reframe it and look at it from a different angle. Before we've got a short, but because I know our closer video is 2 minutes. So we do have a comment. I just wanted to post that out there, Deborah.
Sure.
We saw. So if you can send me your, how do you want people to reach out to you?
Yeah. So my direct email address right now is Brian, BRIAN at rebirthusa.org. But I'll do the formal announcement right here that I said I was going to do.
Yep.
So everyone can kind of see I've got a different logo up here. So it's called the Hero's Journey Center. So I am resigning as National Director of Project Rebirth because I have accepted the role of Chief Executive Officer of the Hero's Journey out here in Colorado, which will be doing all the things that I just described. So you guys are the first to hear it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, that's why I said, folks, that, sometimes delays happen unbeknownst to us, that it was God's timing for Brian to join us. So this was a total news flash to me before we joined on. I was so excited to hear this.
Well, it's 2026 is a year of renewal for everyone, right? So if you want a year of rebirth, contact us and we'll help you find that.
Well, Deborah wants you to reach out. So there's the email. I make sure that you get that. I'm so excited that you came on the show, Brian. This was a long thing in the works and you have a neat story. I probably know at least a good handful of people that need to reach out to you because I know that a lot of those modalities that you listed, they've gone through and they're still struggling. They're still struggling. And
just know that you can recover and that there are people out here who we will help you find the resource and get you the resources for that resource. If you give us a call, we won't stick you inside, a square hole when you're a round peg. We respect that and we'll make sure that all pathways of recovery are possible.
That's awesome. If you want to hang on afterwards, I'm going to do, in stream and, we'll do some quick closing. So thank you so much for joining with us, Brian. And
thank you, Ava.
Folks, we'll see Samantha here at my house in person next Saturday. So she just graduated and, we're going to talk about her next journey. So see you in a little bit, Brian.
Bye, guys.
Oops. If it'll.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25 and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.